Good morning, Reconnectors. It's Brooke. I'm excited to see you this morning. I I don't know how it's been going for you guys, but we're on day 5 of our challenge. It's 22 days, and we started out last week with a lot of stuff and what our beliefs are, and we had some homework and visualizations. I'm curious to know how that went for everybody. I had a couple epiphanies, but I do have some questions, and I want to go over those with you first that I received last night via email. One of the questions from the homework, I'm sorry, let me start over. I'm going to start with congratulations on continuing this journey, because if you're watching the recording for number 2, or you are live here with this number 2 module, then you're continuing your journey and taking this seriously. And I really appreciate that about you, because one of the things that I was working on yesterday for another program is I was talking about the promises that we make to ourselves that we don't keep. I believe that the universe holds up a worthwhile promise for everyone in life. And when we start to break the promises that we make to ourselves every day, we close the door on that. So if you are breaking the promises that you need to make and keep with yourself or others in order to reach that worthwhile promise, and you've connected to that, you're lucky to have made the connection, but you have the opportunity to continue to move forward towards that goal every day. And when you start breaking that promise on a daily basis, that's like the pattern. So our promise is being kept, and we're continuing on this traveling light, and we're going to be packed with purpose at the end of our 22 days together, right? So we had a little bit of homework, and some of it were questions, but part of it came up later with how do other people's beliefs shape the way that you try to influence them? So it's something that you have to remember. It's not just us that has authority in their lives and people that we've sought out advice from, and we have had opinions formed and beliefs formed based on what we know and what we've been brought up with. But furthermore, the people that are around us, they were shaped by something and someone. So keeping that in mind when we're trying to influence them is important. I didn't get any questions on that homework, but it was important for me to bring it up, because we always look at ourselves first as far as coaching goes, inward, looking at yourself. Okay, well, that person's bothering me, or that person this or that. Like, so what is it about me that's bothering me right now? And before I look at them. Anyway, I'm digressing. So not only understanding where our beliefs are coming from and what they are and how they shape our decisions, we should look at other people and what their influences have been and are, and how they're making decisions, and respect how they're making decisions when you're part of that. So if they're a client or a friend or a family member, being conscientious about how they understand the way the world works and the way the world works for them, because it works different for everybody. It's important to see that, because sometimes we can hit ourselves against the head, like we're hitting a brick wall with a person because the communication is breaking down, but the belief systems may not be lining up. So I'm not saying you need to change your beliefs according to what that other person believes, but you have to understand it in order to be efficient. So moving on to our question, I received a question: how do I make decisions without relying on other people and their beliefs? So I just want to make sure I clarify the question. I feel that this question is asking me, how can someone make a decision without consulting with someone else or relying on false belief system or a belief system that they're challenging themselves? of their own belief system. When you're challenging your own belief system, you still have to make decisions while you're doing this. You can't time out. I don't want to like make a life right now. I'm going to take a hiatus from decision making because I'm challenging my own belief system and the fallacies of society, and I'm restructuring that. So that's not going to come up, right? So we're going to have to continue to move forward and make choices and decisions, even though we're trying to rewire the way we do it. Or maybe you're going to end up in a situation where this is a new one I haven't, experienced before, and I have to make a decision without consulting someone else. So we'll get to the simple answer, and that is to make a decision that you need to make instantaneously, take a breath and go with your gut. But the second part of this is when you have a more relaxed situation where you can think for a moment, how would you make a decision without consulting other people? Well, first of all, I want to clarify, this isn't the goal of this challenge is for you to understand your beliefs and for you to challenge them and to rewrite those that you no longer believe in, but may have been subconsciously making decisions by that belief. But in no way should we, or do we have to completely cut people out of our lives and making decisions, right? So this goes back to the authority and how you choose that authority and who those people that could influence you are. So I've changed the way that I do this in many ways, but something was said to me about a year ago, and this is where I have started to shift when I'm in a situation where it's a big decision. I need to talk to more than one person for their advice, opinion, wisdom. Think about it like Mount Rushmore. So who's on your Mount Rushmore? That was a question that I heard someone ask. Like in your career, in your money, in your love and family wheel, in your health, you may have a different Mount Rushmore for every major subject in your life, if you will, the 5 wheels. So in my career Mount Rushmore, I wouldn't be calling my family Mount Rushmore team about that. Or I wouldn't be calling my wealth people that I would seek information about wealth from to make a decision about my 8-year-old and what's going on with him, or seek counsel or advice from those people on those Mount Rushmores, if that makes sense. So consider your source when you are seeking advice. And the other side to that is when other people come to you. This is something I'm working on very much. And I have to remind myself, it is when people come to you, a lot of us want to fix things. And I am that way for sure, because being a leader and entrepreneur, we take things we go in charge and we're like, okay, we're going to do this. And it isn't wrong. But when you're talking with a friend and maybe they just want to talk, but they've told you about something they're contemplating or is going on for them, and you go into fix-it mode of, oh, this is what you should do, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times we're right. But in order to help that person get to where they need to get to, maybe they need all the steps and we could skip a step for them. My steps are not the same as other people's steps. I can see things, or I think I see things quicker than I do, or than other people. Or sometimes I skip a step and go a little deeper before I need to. But understand this, that you can ask the question when you're on the other side, are you talking and venting, or are you seeking my opinion or advice? Are you talking or asking? So when you're the person that is talking and seeking advice, or talking, not asking the question, it's okay to say, hey, I have something on my mind. And if you don't mind, I just want to talk. I don't need to fix it. I just need to get some of this information out and maybe help me understand better. And those are great ways for you to dissect the parts of the outcomes of a decision, the what ifs, and see how that lands for you. And vice versa, the other person can start asking you questions. Well, what are you concerned about? And why is that a concern? So going back now to the homework I sent last night, is I ask a lot of questions when I work with people. And I do that because there's more information in the answer than only the answer to my questions. You get to understand another person by asking questions, and you actually help them feel either in power of their own thoughts or defensive. So the way we ask questions is important. What questions we ask is important. And sometimes when people are getting frustrated at all my questions, I will even simply say, help me understand. I need to ask you a few questions, or I know I've asked you a lot of questions. I have a few more. It's so that I understand. So when you're asking the questions about your choices and about your decisions and about your belief system, ask yourself even more questions. It's okay to challenge yourself, just as you would ask somebody else questions, so that you understand and clarify a situation, so that you can be the best person on their Mount Rushmore. And remember, it's not etched in stone. We're not the real Mount Rushmore. So people may come on and off of that for you. You might have people that are very important people in your life at times, and at other times, they're not, like a former mentor, or someone that you had as a direct supervisor 15 years ago. They're a great friend still, but you don't seek them out all the time for advice, or maybe you want to share a funny story, but they're not necessarily on your Mount Rushmore now, but they were 15 years ago. Make sense? I hope everybody is enjoying the challenge and the homework. I know homework can get to be like, oh, I forgot I was doing this challenge, and this is why I don't sign up for challenges. Or you're like, oh my God, where's my homework? I can't wait to do this tonight. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something I mentioned in the first module. I'm going to read this to you because I couldn't find a movie clip yet. This movie is still in theaters, the Barbie movie. I'm not sure if you saw this yet, but there's a part in the movie that really talks about what we're going to talk about today. And today, our second module is about a life map, really about predetermined or predefined paths versus a personal pathway. And predefined paths are basically the group that I gave to what the societal fallacies are, basically, for women and career, and what we should do when we're grown-ups, and how we should plan that when we're growing up, and how we're going to get there. And if you're in the age group of me, of 40 to 60 or around 50, you remember what this was like, because things have changed so much about what women should or shouldn't do when they graduate high school or college, and families, and having kids or not having kids, or going to, career route or not going career route. So I'm going to start by reading the monologue from the Barbie movie. It's about being a woman. And then I'm going to move on to talk about, what the predefined path looks like versus your personal pathway. And that brings us to risk being equated to failure in a lot of people's minds, and how we're going to challenge that. So let me get started. Okay, so there's a monologue in the movie. Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, is a perfect woman in every way. She's beautiful. Her life is perfect. Nothing is upsetting her. She's always happy. Her outfit's perfect. Her makeup's perfect. Everything's perfect, perfect, perfect. And all she really has to think about, it, if you look at this Barbie in the box, is being that. She doesn't have any pressures. And in the movie, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but she kind of enters the real world and sees what that's like. And she realizes very quickly what a fallacy a perfect life is and what a perfect woman really is. And it is a fallacy because perfection in life and in your person just doesn't exist, right? So it's a lot of stuff in this monologue. And if anything doesn't really ring true for you, then, like I say, take what you need and throw the rest away. But I feel like it's a great way to preface what we're going to talk about today. So here we go. She says to stereotypical Barbie, "It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think that you're good enough. Like, we always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. And you have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but you don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also be looking out for other people. You have to answer to men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much, or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also be grateful. You should have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's true contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal and says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but everything you're doing is your fault. I'm just tired of watching myself and every single woman tie herself to knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know." Wow, 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 wow. Crazy. I mean, there's so much in there for me. I'll let you unpack that later. But the level of perfection and outside appearance of how we are and what we are as women is a big part of this. And the predefined path for women in our lives and which way we should or shouldn't go has kind of looked like one of four ways in the past. And the typical tracks are: you're going to go to school, you're graduating high school, and you're going to go off to college, and you picked a career path. And in choosing a career, it can go a couple different ways. You can either join the corporate climbing crusaders, so to speak, and embark on a career in a field, but want to continue to level up, so to speak, and climb that ladder. You might want to just be content in your career track of choice. Maybe you chose something that you really like doing. I don't know, a zookeeper. Perhaps you love animals, or you want to be a veterinarian tech, and you are, and you're perfectly happy being a veterinarian tech. And being a veterinarian isn't necessarily something you want or need to do. Or you could go along the path of entrepreneurship, which is becoming more and more popular. And although this isn't considered a career, I still feel differently about that. It is a career. And that's homemaker and caregiver extraordinaire. And then there's this other little thing that's just kind of sitting out there. It's conforming to societal norms. So that can change as we are in a certain stage of our lives, right? So if you're in your 20s, it's looked at as, oh yes, run off to college and get your career, girl. We support that. You're in your 30s, maybe you had kids early and you stayed home for a while and you're going back to school, and that's, yes, awesome. Maybe, you're in your career and you realize you need a degree in order to further that career, and you're in your 30s or 40s, and that's a rah, yes, that's great. It'll help your position or the company. But then there's this like, I don't know really what I want to do, but I was doing this and it was successful. And maybe I need to learn more about something. And I'm going to go learn more about myself and some things. And I'm whatever age. That's not like a societal norm, right? That's like, oh, is she having a midlife crisis? Is she changing her path and losing her shit? Like, some people might feel that way because they're just not used to people making big changes and making big shifts when they've been doing something for a long period of time. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about which path you're on and which path you feel fits you at this stage in your life, and that there's really no right or wrong answer. It's kind of funny how I've noticed there are a lot of people that are not of authority in other people's lives, and they sort of insert themselves as the authority. Like, oh, wow, you're just, I see all this change and you're doing this, you're doing that. So when you start to make change, it's going to scare a lot of people if you are on that path or in that season of your life. So don't worry, you're not losing your mind. They just haven't really experienced anyone doing this yet. But we're going to break free of the myths and move forward and find what it is that's going to light our fire for our future. So the risk failure connection is something I mentioned earlier. And unfortunately, a lot of people are so fearful of failure and what other people think about their failure or success that they don't or hesitate to take risks because they equate a risk with a failure. Because most of us do always remember the bad stuff a little bit more than the good stuff. So we've taken risks in our lives that have been successful that may have nothing to do with our careers. And we've taken risks in our lives that have been unsuccessful that have nothing to do with our careers, or everything to do with our careers, if you will. So one thing is, if you perceive risk is a direct path to failure, you'll avoid it altogether. And this stems from the fear of the unknown and the belief that if you deviate from something safe and proven, that an unsafe or unfamiliar path will lead only to negative outcomes. So I'm going to challenge that for you and everyone today. You have absolutely made decisions that were based on unfamiliar information or unsafe, meaning it was unproven. If you are married right now and you are in a successful marriage and are not going through a divorce, and that is something that you definitely had to put your faith and belief in, of that person was who they said they were, and that you and that person have established a relationship out of respect and love that you can communicate through many years of change and many years of different opinions and many years of other people involved in your life or not involved in your life. Even if you've been divorced and that divorce yielded a successful life or something successful happened for you afterward or them, So it's a two-way street. You've gone down an unfamiliar path and you have yielded success, or you didn't die and you are continuing to learn and grow and heal from that situation. So right there is number one on your list of list 5 things you were successful at. Even just last month, you can pick something easy. I was successful at launching this program on time on August 24th. And that date was important to me. How did it work out, and what was the worst thing that happened? Well, it worked out great. All my AV stuff worked. All my live videos worked. Did I worry in advance? Absolutely, I worried in advance. Mostly, I worried about whether or not my content would sit well with you. Would you understand my message? But secondly, it's always logistics. Did the worrying help? I feel like the worrying did not help on the AV side, but it definitely helps me on the program side. Because if you don't worry, it's almost like you don't care sometimes. But I didn't worry excessively. I worried because I cared and I want to give you the best experience. So let's think of another example. Imagine wanting to start a new business, but fearing the failure of it. The fear of the risk leads you to dismiss your idea altogether, and you associate taking less risks with inevitable failure. Therefore, every time you take a risk, you feel you'll fail. So let's reevaluate risk for a moment. My risk of saying we're doing this program on August 24th would be that it would not be ready for you, right? That risk would mean that you would likely come to the first kickoff welcome video Zoom meeting, or watch it later and realize this person is not prepared for me. She must not really care about this. It must not be that big of a deal, or she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, you see how my mind can make this into all kinds of things. So I'm going to reevaluate the risk with opportunity. I risked falling on my face for the opportunity to get in front of people that have not heard me or I have not met, people that may have never worked with a coach and need to hear a message that could shift their life for the better. Because that is my overall mission, is for you to be a better you. And for any of these Zoom meetings during the challenge, or recordings watching later, or anything that I put out as far as content and information, is for you to take that information and do something good with it. So the risk of me making a fool of myself for the opportunity for you or me or anyone else that hears me, or vibration of hearing me, understands that this is a potential gateway for opportunity and growth. Because every successful venture involves an element of risk. But the outcome depends on my commitment, your commitment, to preparation, planning, and learning for potential setbacks. So what does that mean? Okay, so I risk starting a business. You decide, instead of saying, I'm not scared of starting a business, I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to interview for a promotion, or I'm going to change career tracks. And instead of fearing the risk of what could go wrong, if you look at it as an opportunity of a gateway to more opportunity and growth, you see a financial independent person who's successful, and personal fulfillment is a successful thing in your mind. And you see that with careful commitment, planning, and pivoting where necessary, this could be something very successful. On the daily, the success must must be the number one focus versus the fear of the failure. Because when we buy into the fear of failure, we start to buy into not good enough. And we go right back to Barbie fallacy of the mind will start to spin. Be thin, but not too thin. Be happy, but not too happy. Be successful, but not too successful. So you understand that we could go down a rabbit hole of talking ourselves into not taking a risk because of what other people think and our own fear of failure. So when we start to choose our own path versus conforming to societal norms, we have to talk about the influence. And we did talk about it in module 1, but this one really talks about it in the way of the promotion of the predefined paths of society, right? So we talked about this in the module 1 too, of you're sitting with your guidance counselor, you're barely 18, and you're talking about, where you're going to go to college, or that you're getting married and having babies, or that you're going to just get a job and you don't know what you want to do yet, but Starbucks looks really good and you have to get a job or your mom will kick you out. I don't know. You're somewhere there, right? They're going to put some predetermined paths in front of you. Like, hey, do you want to climb the corporate ladder? If you want to be the CEO, you got to start here and you work your way up. If you just want to be a teacher and stay a teacher, you're going to go to college, get your job, and stay there and retire in 30 years. How fun. If you want to have kids, don't worry, there's life after kids. Like, we don't promote women having a life during that time that they're a caregiver extraordinaire, right? But they're going to encourage you to conform to societal norms typically. So it will be up to us to promote the undetermined path, the ones that we write. So due to social pressure, maybe you pick a certain way or someone picks a path because they feel they have to pick one of those. And even though that may not be their true passion, it's somewhere else because they feel like they need to conform. It might lead them to this lack of feeling fulfilled in their life later because they did not follow the path that rang true to their belief, their core belief. It was based on the belief of other people or society telling them they needed to be stereotypical Barbie or career Barbie or astronaut Barbie or whatever. And so you can easily see that one of the biggest risks of not taking risk is to live unfulfilled and out of alignment with your true passion and being in this state of just getting the job done every day for the rest of your life and feeling like you're on autopilot and this is all that it is, which tells us that we know there is a benefit to taking an autonomous, which means of your own right and thought, your own charge, if you will, an autonomous path. Choosing a path based on your autonomy allows you to pursue careers and lifestyles that resonate with your passions and true values. This kind of feeling leads to greater satisfaction and fulfillment. Typically, although it is with risk, but everything in life has risk and everything in life has stress, and every way you choose is going to have a little bit of resistance at some point. Life is not the yellow brick road and the birds chirping all of the time, but pick your problem. That's a big, important thing, right? Pick your problem. Would you like the problems of being this, or would you like the problems of being that? Either way, we get to decide. So let's say choosing a autonomous path for you is creative writing, and you are encouraged to go into, a journalism position, but you love creative writing and you push back and you embrace your passion and you become a creative writer and you excel in this and you're genuinely interested in it and you become a famous writer and You build a life revolving around inspiring and writing. So although there was a risk that people may not love your writing and people may not buy your writing, but we don't know that to be true, 100% true, until the risk is taken. We don't know that failure isn't imminent. So let me start over. We don't know that risk will equate to failure, not success. We do not know that 100%. We do not know for 100% truth that a risk taken will result in a failure. And we do not know that a risk taken will result in success. We 100% do know that failure or success is our choice based on keeping the promises to ourselves every single day that get us to the success. Not keeping those promises to ourselves every day, you can pretty much plan on the failure because you know what needs to be done, or you are wise enough and intelligent enough and capable enough to educate yourself on the things that you need to do or not do in order to realize that success, or educate yourself about the things you need to stop doing to realize success, or the things you need to stop doing to not realize failure. Whatever way you word that, the only thing you can control is your daily actions and keeping the promises that you make to yourself every day and your customers or whomever you are serving. Okay, I'm going to let that sit for a minute, right? Why? Why are we sitting on that? We're going to sit on that because I want you to understand that whatever you decide a risk is going to be, either a success or a failure, it will be. Yes, there are outside of influences and external things you can't control, but everything within your control, you can control. Okay? So now that we know that we are able to pick our own path versus go down a path that is already set up and that is encouraged, let's talk about some of the things that make us choose one of those predetermined paths. Okay? So, for example, climbing the corporate ladder. Why is that attractive to someone that doesn't want to be crazy and go their own way? Well, it's a conventional path. It's a widely accepted societal path. It offers stability. It offers a defined trajectory. It offers you a plan, if you will. But it also can limit you on your own creativity. And it could lead to burnout because your own personality in a corporate ladder situation is often snuffed out for the overall mission and goal for the corporation. And that is absolutely what needs to happen in a situation where a corporation has one goal or a defined set of goals. Their job is climbing that ladder is to right the ship and continue to bring that ship on course to reach the overall goal. But because it's not a goal of the individual, the passion and the everyday promise that you have to keep to yourself in order to realize that goal is a little harder to keep. And I'm going to take that back to the word connect. I feel strongly that if you are not connected to a goal, it becomes a fast road to burnout when you have to keep the promise to yourself to do the things every day that you have to do day in and day out to reach that goal. So one of the ways you can, though, do that is to break down the overall corporate goal into your personal little mission for the day. If I make this mission today, my company will be closer to this goal, and I will feel a sense of accomplishment. Just like in one of my reels last week, I said, if you are trying to practice self-care, and it's not something you're good at, and you have a hard time sitting, and you're a doer, and you want that to-do list done, read a book on your list. And when you read the book or part of a book for that day, you can check it off and feel accomplished. But then also look at it as, good job, girl, you practice self-love and do more of that every day. Incorporation. So practice it a different way until it makes it link to your core value. So corporate wants $1 million in sales by Friday. And today is Tuesday. So if today you manage to successfully help or assist a person on your team or coworker or co-manager get a third of that business closed today, would you feel successful and accomplished today? Versus, I have $1 million by Friday. I didn't get $1 million. I only got 300,000. We're never going to make it to Friday. So remember, this is all in charge of all that. So although the climbing of the ladder offers stability, it can also offer a little bit of boredom because you're repeating the goal of someone else. But when you try to make it your own in a way that rings true to you, you can have a lot of autonomy in that. You just have to think of it a different way. So also the personality of climbing the corporate ladder. A personality that climbs the corporate ladder is not somebody that's very content with having reached a goal. They reach a goal and then they say, what's next? They're constantly looking for another thing to achieve. And it doesn't mean that they're an overachiever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that that is a fuel of their passion, or it could be an overachiever mindset. But regardless, remember that fear and their personalities, they might be fearful of being insignificant or passed by or something else. So their fear of not being successful enough might be driving them to the next rung on the ladder. But they also may feel then getting into that role that their fear of being stagnant and conforming and not having any type of challenge isn't suitable like for them, because a corporate ladder is a very structured, goal-oriented route. So they may not be a good fit. They may be a better fit for entrepreneurship. Make sense? So that brings us to entrepreneurship, which is, I've been an entrepreneur a couple times in my life, but one of the most happy times I've found for success in income has been an entrepreneurship spirit in a corporate situation where I'm selling or I'm supported by a corporate product. It does allow, when you're an entrepreneur, outside of an organization. So I'm going to go back to that. So what I mean is, if you are a self-employed person, but yet you're self-employed and you work only for one company selling their product, that is a situation I'm giving as an example. If you are a social media marketer, sorry, and you work for 3 dentists and you choose who you work with and you're 1099 and you have a lot of say-so in your work schedule and your time off and how much money you can make. Because if you want to, you can grab another dentist and make even more money because you're comfortable with a certain level of risk and being creative, and you don't want to feel stagnant. You want to have a lot of control, flexibility, and endless opportunity, right? Or you could go another route and start your own business altogether, an all-out entrepreneurship. And that has the largest risk. And I understand that, but it also has the largest opportunity of reward. There's no cap on income or possibility when you are an entrepreneur. Tony Robbins, as an example, when he decided to become a life coach and start telling people that the power of their minds could really put them in a position to have any life that they really choose. 30 years ago or so, when he decided to start making his CDs and DVDs and selling them on infomercials, didn't even know the World Wide Web was coming his way. But he realized a dream of getting his word and his message out. Not only that, but he made money from it. He made tons, millions of dollars, probably $1 billion. And in the process, he created more coaches and more platforms for people like us to learn more about ourselves and become open to more opportunity and realize wealth or relationships or happiness that we may not have realized had he not opened his mouth and embarrassed himself by putting himself in front of a TV camera. So I'm willing to take that risk as an entrepreneur because that is the payoff I'm looking for. Maybe an entrepreneurship looks to you too scary. So pursuing that entrepreneurship means you'd have to overcome the fear of taking the bigger risk and choosing yourself or autonomy or more autonomy or a path that maybe has more risk than even staying home and being a caregiver, because you're risking, if you're staying home and you're a caregiver, you rely on a partner or a family member to financially support that passion and that calling in your life. And that requires a lot of trust and a lot of risk that I feel as women, assume that it will be safe and it will be secure and it will be okay. And we give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But one thing could change in one moment, and no longer do you have the financial support of the other person and no longer be a caregiver extraordinaire for whatever reason. And we don't feel that staying home with our kids is putting ourselves out there and risky in any way most of the time. I know. So think about things like that too. Like, we don't see all the risks because we don't want to. What we believe is what we believe. So what we believe to be true is true, right? So entrepreneurship and choosing ourselves or not choosing something we know will cause our personality just fizzle away, right? So if you know your personality is going to thrive in a conventional career pursuit person, like, I want to be a dental hygienist. I love clean teeth. I believe in this. I want to do this. I feel like there is a whole population out there for me to serve, and I cannot wait to get out there and clean teeth. I know it sounds unbelievable when I said all that because it's not true. I don't want to clean teeth at all. But you might see me light up when I start talking about coaching. So the bottom line here is, no matter what path you choose, if there's no passion and no spark and no lighting up, maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe we need to look at the societal norms and that path and that predetermined way that we feel those are only choices for us. The choices are infinite. The desires that we have are infinite, and that is why. The capabilities that you have are infinite. The possibilities of choosing one career versus a corporate ladder chaser, or being a caregiver, or being an entrepreneur, whatever the case, it doesn't require you to buy into every fear that is going to be presented to you. And it does not require you to only see the benefits and the easy way for yourself. Because most times people see opportunity and risk as either good or bad. And it doesn't have, two things can be true at the same time. Something can be risky and an amazing opportunity at the same time. Something could be not risky at all and the shittiest opportunity that you ever walked into. So something that I've been preparing for my next webinar, I had this big epiphany. And again, I'll repeat it. So it's, I believe that the universe holds a worthwhile promise to you, for you, until you stop keeping the promises to yourself every day that you need to keep in order to realize the truth of that promise, or in order for you to receive the promise that the universe has already promised you. Everything that you want in the universe is already there for you. There's enough money. There's enough money to make. There's enough love to receive and give. There's enough joy. There's enough. It's plentiful. It's all there for you. The risks are included. But if we don't take risks, we do not get the gain. So when you start making promises to yourself and keeping them every day, that is where the real work and the real magic happens. We do this in spite of, right? So I want to go back, just jump real quick into the pre-workbook. And the reason why I want to do that is because there's 22 prompts, okay? The 22 prompts happen to be, this is the spoiler alert, happen to be 22 ways that those fallacies and false beliefs are holding you back. But if you dive deeper into that, it's actually the fear of the risk. It's a list of the fears that we all could have about taking risks, regardless of the track, regardless of the corporate climbing crusader, conventional career pursuer, homemaker and caregiver extraordinaire, or pursuing the path of entrepreneurship. All of us have fears, no matter which bucket you're in, have a fear or have multiple fears. And the only way to keep the promises to ourselves that we have to make and keep every day in order to keep pursuing forward the success of one of those 4 ways is keeping the promise and overcoming the fear. So I want you to look at it like this when you're going through the workbook, the pre-workbook. There's a prompt on each page. Self-doubt is the first one. Underestimating your abilities and worthiness. Believing you are not capable of achieving your dreams. And then the question, am I worthy? Are you worthy is your decision and your choice alone. The universe knows that you are worthy of that thing, or your ability, or your capability, or your skill. The universe knows that you are worthy of that. Once you believe it and link it to the universe's belief, that belief becomes stronger. Because pay very close attention. You ever go to like a really big like conference where they're doing a lot of self-development and somebody gets up there and they give this motivational talk? And they talk about at one point in their life, they were the only person that ever believed in them, believed in their dream, their idea, themselves, their concept. And now they're standing before you telling you how to realize success. The person that got to their dream life or success, or are still on the path of realizing more success, when no one else believed in them, listen to them. Because that takes so much strength and so much courage and so much overcoming and so much believing and so much understanding that self-doubt and any one of these things on this list of 22, any one of those things, any one of those fears, any one of those beliefs can be overcome and rewired and replaced and reinforced enough times until it's true in your mind. So if you look at this page here in your pre-workbook, self-doubt, underestimating your abilities, that's what it means. It means underestimating your abilities and worthiness and believing you are not capable of achieving your dreams. So are you worthy? The question really is, do you believe in your abilities and worthiness to keep your promise to achieve your dreams and do the daily tasks? And if you don't believe that you have the abilities or worthiness now, is there something that you know that you could find or you can do, or you are smart enough to educate yourself on in order to overcome the fear of self-doubt, of doubting yourself every day? So now the question of, am I worthy? The rewiring is, I want you to list ways in which you tell yourself that you are capable and have abilities. What abilities do you have? Rewiring means on every bullet point, you are going to write down, these are my abilities. I am, I can, I have opened a company in the state of Illinois, so I am capable of opening a business. That's an ability of mine. I am able to write a business plan. That is something I've done before, and I've been successful at writing that business plan. Maybe I've written 20 business plans and 5 businesses were successful and 15 failed, but I am capable and worthy of writing a business plan because I have and has been successful before. So that self-doubt is untrue. So I am going to replace now on my list that I'm capable. Yes, I am worthy. I am capable of these things. Therefore, I'm worthy of taking those skills and doing this with that. How do I replace, I don't believe that I'm good enough to do this, with I am capable of doing this? And if I'm not 125% skilled at that, but I should be, or I need to be, or want to be in order to do my best, I can learn from someone else. The second part of that is, how are you feeling today? And in relation to just the word that's on the paper. So how am I feeling today in relation to self-doubt? Today, I don't doubt myself. I don't doubt that I'm perfectly capable of coming on and educating you about the things that I've learned and I've experienced and I've held someone's hand through if I haven't experienced it myself. I have enough experience to talk to you in order for you to overcome a fear of self-doubt or whatever word on the list, whatever fear it is, for you to overcome it and make a move in the right direction for your life to make it better, no matter what the move is, no matter how small it is. I believe and I know without a doubt, I am feeling confident in my abilities. I don't feel self-doubt today. And I am truly grateful that I've had the experiences and the failures and successes that I've had in order to get to where I am and to share that with you. The number 2 thing I'm grateful for is I am grateful for the freedom to be able to have a platform in which we live in a country where women are able to speak freely. Maybe society doesn't love it, like the Barbie thing. Don't be too much, be enough, be this, be that. Get a little tipsy, but not too drunk. Be a lady, but not too much of a whatever. So I am grateful for how far we have come. And I'm grateful for the future we will have based on the change that we've made in society and based on the change that even we are making right now by speaking the words that we are able and capable and we can do all of these things. My affirmation today is I am worthy of keeping my promise to myself every day that are required for me to keep in order to realize my utmost goal. And my mood today is, wow, I am calm, happy, anxious, angry, playful, sad. I am hopeful. I'm going to fill in the blank today. So going through this, then there's a thoughts page. And if you just want to write notes or streamline thoughts or just free fall, because we're at our 11 o'clock hour already. I'm sorry. It went by so fast. But there's a comparison trap on the next page. So comparing yourself to others, feeling inadequate or unsuccessful. In order to rewire, you need to write down ways you were successful and replace them with thoughts of how you were successful, and that's easy to tie into being successful in the future. Reinforcing them with something that went perfectly well today with just one little shift in that change of attitude or thought and fear, of changing a fear into it just is. It might happen, but buying into your fear is what's going to make you stop. And we need to think about what holds us back, because understanding what holds us back when we're not clear on what our overall goal is, like our real, true, like really one purpose. Let's say it's, I want to make money. Okay. I know you want to make money, but what's the true purpose behind making the money? Embracing the failure in your life in order to become successful gives you the paradigm. Okay. So have you ever heard the phrase, you can't experience joy without experiencing sorrow? And there's a lot in that, but let's for a moment not say that you have to experience true sorrow and pain in order to have joy. Let's say for a moment that you've embraced the fact that failure and success are equal, not even equal, scratch that. Failure and success are both possible outcomes. To me, attempting this thing I'm new at, or just starting at, or something I've needed to learn and now learned, the thing that's giving me the push forward than where I was 10 days ago, the thing that's scary to me, I know that I need to move through that scary part, the fear, to get to the other side, to the real opportunity, to make growth, to get toward the goal. Even if you don't know what the whole laser focus goal is yet of the purpose, knowing that you have the ability to be successful versus fail and concentrating on that will now hold more weight than your failure, because you've embraced the fact that failure could happen, and you have failed and gotten back up millions and millions and millions of times. And it is through getting back up that you realize the success. And embracing the fact that failure is an essential part of every successful journey. an opportunity to release the fear, which is a false belief of your fears coming true. So I hope I'm going to tie that to what was going on with you in module 1 over the next couple days. Your homework will be coming in an email. Your recording will be coming. Your life that you are dreaming of and creating as we speak is one step closer to being yours. And I encourage you to continue to dive deep, share, share, share. I made this group a private share in email just to encourage more of it, because I know it's hard when we first start with group coaching. And it's really my first time with this big of a group. So thank you for being part of my little infancy stages and everything that we're building at ReconnectHer. I truly, truly am grateful for you and the opportunity to help you get to where you want to be. Go ReconnectHer and make it a great day.